Hello and welcome back, your lovely faces, to another video here on the channel. Today we will be doing 3 videos. These will be going over what we did in the live stream last night. Instead of putting them all into one huge video again, it's best just to cut them up for people, because I know people can watch these then, when and if they got the time. So these are always better to do for the people. Last night, obviously, we went through a whole host of situations that have popped up over the last couple of days. We've had the Adam Waldman tweets. We've also had Talk Radio as being suspended, then it was reinstated. Talk Radio was actually owned by Rupert Murdoch, who owns The Sun. So there's a whole host of things that we went through. But what we're going to jump into, so let's spin this around. Over the weekend, a lot of people, myself including, were receiving direct messages on Twitter from people who their accounts were hacked. That's the only way to describe it, because people were receiving messages all about either Instagram, YouTube or Facebook, and when you click the link, it actually took you to a who's watching you list. Basically, it's almost like, oh, guys, have a look at this. You can see who's watching you the most on whichever social media app you're using. That's exactly what it was. And it's sad to see that that started happening after AH's fans, if you want to call them fans, started deleting, well, mass deleting now, all their photos, conversations from all social media websites. And again, we are clutching at straws there, but just to let people know, this is what we got. So this is what Jorge put out. To all, please be aware of this. There are now Johnny Depp supporters that are being hacked by AH's group. They PM hacked messages. Please be aware. Don't click on them. And this is what the message will look like. It'll be whoever sends you it. It could be like this one here is what mine looked like, exactly the one that Al had. But this is exactly what it looks like, guys. So if you get one like this, don't click on it, just delete it and report it. And tell the person who actually sent the account, do you know what this is? Do you know what's going on? But send it publicly. Don't send it privately. Do it publicly so everyone can see it. So that's what we got by there, guys. But then, obviously, we moved into something which was absolutely phenomenal. And because it just shows how belittling NGN lawyers are. Obviously, in December, Johnny Depp and his team put in the appeal, and it went, obviously, the first one they went to Judge Neckel, who went, no, you think I'm wrong, so I'm not going to let you appeal. Then Johnny and his team went to the Courts of Appeal. They went above and beyond, and they put that in. Well, now, NGN and Dan Wootton, they've come up with their, 3 pages, 4 pages, because that's all you're allowed in the request if you want to try and say you shouldn't have this. But they've gone on with their response, and this is what we got. So obviously, Court of Appeal, all this kind of stuff, John Depp, news group and newspapers, Dan Wootton. This is the defendant's respondent's response. So we got number 1, the respondents ask the court to reject this application for PTA, which is solely against the judge's findings of fact. Nicole J. was steeped in the case. He determined several interlocutory applications, then heard a 3.5-week trial over 30 witnesses, 26 giving oral evidence, the protagonists in person, cross-examined by highly experienced Queen's Counsel, and 13 lever arch files of documents, including photographs and many contemporaneous messages to and from Mr. Depp. The result was a 585 paragraph judgment, over 129 pages. But out of those 129 pages, only a slithering of them were actually about the case and what his decision was. Number 2, the Court of Appeal will only rarely review findings of fact, particularly when based on oral testimony. As Lord Reed stated in McGrady v. McGrady, so it's going on about a different one now, that the judge, if he finds fact, he has to go with it. The rationale for deference to the original finder of fact is not limited to the superiority of the trial judge's position to make determinations of credibility. So that's what we got by there. Number 3, Mr. Depp does not contend that either the trial or any other interlocutory applications were conducted unfairly. Number 4, this very experienced judge, his task was to assess whether, on the balance of probabilities, the respondents had proven that their articles were substantially true. He concluded after conducting a painstaking analysis of the evidence that the respondents had proved 12 of the 14 pleaded perpetrated by Mr. Depp on AH, and the plea of substantial truth was therefore made out. It is apparent from the detailed judgment that there is no basis to conclude that the judge failed to examine the evidence or provide reasons for his findings. With that one there, as you can see in quite a few of the first couple of paragraphs, they're sucking up to the people. Oh, they're highly skilled. They're highly experienced. Oh, they're a fantastic judge. You're literally sucking up to them, saying, oh, you're doing a great job, guys. Stick with us. Don't go with him. That's exactly what they're doing. And sadly, that is a tactic that is allowed. Number 5. Mr. Depp has selected items of evidence which he contends show the judge carried out his tasks incorrectly. The respondents are unable, within the confines of this document, to answer these points. This would require a similarly detailed and lengthy exposition of the evidence, in many more than the permitted 3 pages. Many of the examples, including in the accompanying schedule, are simply wrong, e.g. the claim that in taped conversations, Miss AH never referred to this, akin to that which she recounted in her oral evidence, save for reference to one occasion where the appellant accidentally knocked her head. She accused him of doing this. There are in fact many examples of AH accusing Mr. Depp of this. Everyone around me saw all the bruises and the broken blood vessel under my eye, the bruises on my head, the missing chunks of hair, the split lip, the black eye, the swollen nose, all that because you're stronger. Which was in the trial bundle but is not in the supplementary PTA bundle. And Mr. Depp admitted, I did this to you in your forehead in such one recording. See paragraph 429 of the judgment. Further, as Lord Reed explained in the McCready versus McGreedy one, so again, they're going back to another court case, and it's like, come on guys, just, this is what it is. You need to talk to him about what's going on, not in the past case where you're like, well, this happened there, so you gotta do this too. It shouldn't be like that. Number 7, as to the 7 grounds of appeal, ground 1, the judge's findings were bare assertions rather than reasoned decisions. This is unarguable. The judgment was long and thorough, which each conclusion of fact supported by a detailed analysis of the relevant oral and documentary evidence, which it wasn't. It wasn't a detailed analysis. Again, they want to say, literally, like, even though you're doing like 3 or 4 lines, that was a paragraph, yeah, it's very detailed, that's for the judge, see what he did? It didn't work like that. Ground 2. The judge failed to test AH's oral evidence against contemporaneous documentary or witness evidence. This is obviously wrong. See, it's just a one-word answer from him, which they're like basically saying to the judge again and to the appeals judges, yeah, this is wrong. Yeah, we're not going to even bother going what we're going to say, we just say that's wrong. It's almost like saying, right, 2 and 2 is 4, and then the judge said, no, you're wrong. Next. That's exactly how it is. Ground 3. The judge failed to examine or properly assess the credibility of AH or the other witnesses called by the respondents. This too is plainly wrong. The judge explained his assessment of the witnesses, especially AH credibility, in considerable detail. No, he never. Going down. Ground 4. The judge failed to address his mind to the impact of finding that one of this alleged by AH in the confidential schedule did not occur. This is misconceived. The fact the judge did not find that the respondents had satisfied him on the balance of probabilities that one incident had occurred as pleaded did not mean that he was compelled to reject the entirety of the respondent's case. Ground 5. It was incumbent on the judge to closely examine and provide a proper assessment of the principal grounds on which AH's credibility was challenged, or at least address them, but he did neither. This is the same as grounds 2 and 3. The ground 6, then it goes on about that witnesses were dishonest, as would it be inevitable, giving his findings of fact. And they came back with, an explicit finding of dishonesty on the part of a witness was not inevitable, in order for the judge to reject the witness's testimony and to prefer the account of other witnesses. This is especially so in the case of Mr. Johnny Depp, who admitted that he suffered from memory lapse and blackouts following sustained this. Again, they're trying to bring in things that he does privately. It's like, well, he does this, so obviously he's blacking out, so he's wrong. It's like, guys, come on. Again, it's like we've been talking about, though. The way that this is going on, it is literally throwing their toys out of the pram, having a hissy fit, saying, well, all laser's wrong, you have to believe us, Judge. You have to stick with what you said, that's it. It's like when a parent and tells their children off, but tells one child differently to the other. Well, you've been bad, but you can't do this. But you can do this. And then the other child starts complaining. Oh, well, you never said that. It's that sort of thing, which sucks. But the one that got me as well is that, as you can see right by there, Ground 7. The judge erred in applying 4.1 of the Civil Evidence Act to the evidence of a LAPD officer. Number 14 is what they say about it. Requires the court to have regard to any circumstances from which any inference can reasonably be drawn as to the reliability or otherwise of the hearsay evidence. The judge did this and fully explained the basis on which he concluded that the officer's evidence was not reliable. First of all, how can they say that, in this day and age with the police, with what's going on worldwide, it's like, how can you say that the police officers' response and their statement is not reliable? These two officers went to AH's and Johnny Depp's place and they said twice, there's nothing wrong. Literally, there's nothing here. There was no marks on her. There was none of this, none of that. And I bet you 100% if they said, oh yes, she had marks on her, she was this, she was that, the judge would have been like, well, we're going to use that, But then the funniest one, though, is the very last one. Mr. Depp's PR offensive and the timing of this appeal. The judge referred to, at paragraph 580 to Mr. Depp's determination to stop at nothing, to subject AH to total global humiliation. Mr. Depp's US libel trial against Miss Heard over the same allegations is due to start before a jury in Virginia, 17th of May 2021. Immediately after the verdict in this case, Mr. Depp instructed his UK solicitors publicly to attack Justice Nicole as having reached conclusions which are perverse, bewildering, troubling, and ridiculous, and to state, we hope that in contrast to this case, the ongoing libel proceedings in America are equitable. The court can infer that Mr. Depp brings his wholly unmeasurous application for PTA, at least in part, to promote his position in the US. So with all of that, as you can see, their very, very last sentence is basically saying, well, Judge, now he's done all this, now he wants people to come after you. Look what's happened. They've gone against you, Judge, that's bad. That's exactly how they've played it. And it's a horrible tactic to use, because that just shows the desperateness of AH and NGN's team. Again, this is NGN and Dan Wootton, not against AH, and with them saying, well, Judge, they've gone after you. Nothing happened of the sort. With everything that's happened after the judge gave his verdict, I've always said this, the best detectives are the ones who live on the internet. And to be honest with you, thousands of people found connections all over the place that go from Rupert Murdoch directly to this judge. Even just going between like 3 or 4 people, it went Judge Murdoch. The judge to his son to his employer to Rupert Murdoch. That is 100% genuine. The judge on the trial, his son works for Talk Radio. Talk Radio is owned by News UK. News UK is owned by Rupert Murdoch. It's that's it. Everyone knows. Then you've got the judge, his wife is friends with AH's counsel, and all this kind of stuff, which is just huge. And if none of that was credible, basically, oh, that's just whatever, just let him get on with it, whatever, then why did they scrub the internet so hard and try to hide everything so furiously quick? But they didn't, because everyone's got like copies and everything. We've all got them. Tons of people have got files on all these people, and it's just funny to see, because they're like, oh, it doesn't mean anything. If it doesn't mean anything, why are you trying to scrub the internet? You cannot scrub it. The internet is permanent. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell for future updates, and I'll see each and every one of you soon.